Top 10 most valuable cards out of Ghost from the past 2, and yes, we were going to be ranking what I think will be the most valuable today. Don't beg the 30% of you guys that have not smashed the living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so we can get to 105,000. Number 1 on our list here is going to be the lowest rarity card in this set in terms of ultras, and it's going to be a Luber. I honestly think that a Luber is going to take the highest stepping stone here out of this set, and honestly, that doesn't really surprise me to say that, because when you have a card that's probably going to warp the effects of the metagame here, well, as it already has with Branded, you probably are already seeing, ladies and gentlemen, that just that. Despia has kind of started its very slow and grinding takeover on the metagame at this point in time. So I do think that the most expensive ultra rare in the set is going to topple out at a Luber. There are some very close third and fourth in there, but I think a Luber is going to take the cake in terms of presented value in the set, just because that's kind of what we're expecting at this point in time. Nothing should beat a Luber in terms of, you know, base rarity. First ghost rare on our set here is going to be the Eye of Timaeus. Now, I think Eye of Timaeus is going to hold as probably the weakest card in this set, and that's really saying something compared to the rest of everything else here. But the reason why I say that is because it's the only lone spell card in here. Now, typically in the past, spell ghost rares don't really perform up to what I would say would be standards according to the market. So to see Eye of Timaeus made its way in here, yeah, it's actually really cool to see that it did so well. But honestly, why pull an Eye of Timaeus when you could really end up with anything else? It's kind of like my trade-off with making this video. It's like, yeah, the Eye of Timaeus is a fantastic card for collectors, but you look at everything else in here, and you're just like, there's just so many better options to kind of go for. So we'll kind of have to wait and see overall where that falls, but I think it will be the weakest in here. Next up is actually going to be the raw sphere mode. Now, the reason why I'm putting sphere mode a little bit lower on this list is typically in the past when we've looked at more competitive cards that can have an edge on the market, things like Crystal Wing, for example, in terms of ghosters, they typically go down. Now, this card could be the exception. I honestly think this card might shoot up in the ranks a lot higher, depending on really how much like the community wants that connection to the Winged Dragon Ra. To be fair, Winged Dragon Ra ghost rares are only like $170-ish, give or take a little bit. So I have a feeling that the sphere mode will probably be in tandem with the Eye of Timaeus towards the bottom end of the expected value out of the ghost rares, simply because it's a more competitive card than, you know, really collectors would really want to mess around with either, and it's also just one big ball. All right, next up here is going to be the Red Dragon Archfiend. Now, this one was kind of an interesting placement here, because I could see this in sphere mode rotating. Of course, this is going to fit the bill for the more iconic things, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be completely honest about that here. But in terms of your ghost rares, you're looking at this is strictly just to make sure that Jack Atlas basically got a ghost rare at this point in time. It's also a nice callback for upgrades for people that want to play older formats, but at the same time, it's still base rarity Red Dragon Archfiend. I do see that this card will probably be, for sure, in the bottom 3 of the ghost rares for this set, and with that being said, I don't know, there's just, to me, there's not much of an appeal to see Red Dragon Archfiend. Yeah, it's cool, but with all the cool upgrades and things that we've gotten throughout time here for this, it just doesn't appeal to me all that much. So I'm going to put it much lower on the list because of that. And if it doesn't appeal to me, I don't know how many people it's actually really going to appeal to. Next up here is going to be Cyber Dragon. Now, my problem with Cyber Dragon here is we have the original CRV ulti, we have the new reprint in OTS, and now we're making it a ghost rare. I feel like we're trying to appeal to that player base that likes Cyber Dragon, but I understand that. But, I mean, who's going to be the ultimate Cyber Dragon connoisseur here and have an ultimate rare of one of each art and then the ghost rare? With that being said, I don't know how well the validity of this will actually hold on the market. I also think that this is one of the weaker ones as well, but, you know, kind of as you're climbing up the ladder here, you're looking at these and you're going, well, you know, it is Cyber Dragon. You know, it's got to have some sort of immediate value to the player base. And I do think, ladies and gentlemen, that will be a very, very niche card as well. But once again, we'll have to wait and see. I do think you got a lot of interchangeability here in this department. Now, things where we can kind of start to head on up here. Next up will be Dark Armed Dragon. Now, Dark Armed Dragon has two other vintage rarities, the first edition and the ultimate rare, both of which have $400 price. Maybe it's like $300 to $400. I think it's like $300 to $400 in between, depending on the condition and things like that. But this is the card that the player base loves. All right, in terms of like bridging the gap between like competitive to like this point, I guarantee you that this card will gain value. It might only come in at like $200, $225 for a little while. Honestly, I think that's a little bit high even for itself. But all things considered, yeah, this is where we bridge the gap from truly what will be the more collector's sense of thing versus things. So, I mean, it's an iconic piece of Yu-Gi-Oh! History. Honestly, I really do put it above the Cyber Dragon in terms of estimated value, for sure. Next up on our list here is going to be the Blue Eyes White Dragon. You're probably like, wow, you're putting Blue Eyes so far down the list? Well, here's the thing. Blue Eyes already has a Ghost Rare, which actually hurts the release of this Ghost Rare because we're just kind of recycling assets at this point in time. So that kind of made me wonder, as like, genuinely, like, what kind of value can I expect out of Blue Eyes at this point? I do think it will be one of the higher end Ghost Rares in the set, but it has to tighten with the other big three in the set. And then already having a presentable Ghost Rare at this point in time whose price tag isn't, you know, extravagantly huge in comparison to a lot of the other, you know, Ghost Rares that we've seen kind of floating around here. But reprinting assets in equity definitely does hurt in the long run, at least in my opinion. So that's one thing here that you definitely got to consider, is that reprint Ghost Rare is going to hurt. Next up is going to be the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. And yes, I'm putting this at number 3. Unlike the Blue Eyes White Dragon, Ultimate has not had a Ghost Rare just yet, which kind of opens up the door at this point in time to go, oh, well, that's actually kind of cool. You know, now in terms of collectability here, anybody out here that loves Blue Eyes White Dragon is definitely going to go after this. The trade-off with this is you don't have to get 3 of this. You can interchange with this with the Blue Eyes on the list, strictly on the premise of, well, collectors are going to want 3 Blue Eyes versus, you know, the only one Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon that I would really have come up in terms of testing. So that's the other big thing. You got to think about the quantities and things that you're going to want versus how many people in the community are going to want them. So that's a pretty big thing. But yeah, I think Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon will be a very big push here. Next up here is going to be Red Eyes Black Dragon. Finally getting a Ghost Rare in the TCG will be Red Eyes Black Dragon. Now, all of you Joey Wheeler fans out here finally will get the chance to step up and have a nice piece of this that you can both play in competitively to make your max rarity Dragoon, literally a Starlight Dragoon plus a Red Eyes Ghost Rare plus a Dark Magician Ghost Rare equals Starlight Rare. That's a very interesting concept there, ladies and gentlemen. But honestly, I think that Red Eyes will be probably one of the higher end value cards in the set, strictly because Joey fans are finally getting something. Do not underestimate Joey fans. All right, they are definitely floating around the Kaiba and Yugi sectors a little bit lower, yes, but this is not something that I would really want to discount out at this point in time. So number 2 is, in fact, the mightiest of Joey's monsters, the Red Eyes Black Dragon. Number 1 in the set should be a no-brainer. It's going to be Dark Magician Girl. I honestly think this card, in the long run, will probably topple up to probably the $600 to $800 range. In a couple of years, maybe 5, 10 down the line, you might eventually see this card topple through the market at such a ridiculous price point that you're just going to go, wasn't that like how much years ago? Unlike the Dark Magician, you already know that the waifu tax present in these cards absolutely goes through the roof each and every time. So, number 1 in the set is absolutely, like I said, Dark Magician Girl. So what do you think about this top 10 breakdown for Ghosts from the Past 2? Please, if you've commented about too much you guys think, make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. And I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.